Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. American Ninja Warrior champion Daniel Gill is our guest today. Daniel will talk about his intense training for competition, as well as his philosophy on education and motivation.
America Ninja champion Daniel Gill, welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Yep. Thank you, Mark. So glad to be with you today.
Oh, it's great to see you. I want to tell you, get it out in the open that I went to the barber yesterday. We could have been twins yesterday. I look just like you, but you know, I wanted to clean up for you today, so I hope that's okay. But otherwise, my twin brother from another mother. So Daniel, I interview so many people and talk about what do you want to be when you grow up? And only an elementary school child would actually say, I want to grow up to be an American Ninja champion. So how the heck did that happen to you as an adult?
Yeah. So, I mean, Mark, like just from the get-go, coming from a big family of 5 kids, all of us being homeschooled, I was the monkey kid, climbing on everything growing up, got in more trouble than I care to admit. But thankfully, I found an outlet through traditional sports, you know, baseball, basketball, soccer, all of these things. But I never found my niche in those. I was never very good. I was never the strongest, never the fastest, never the most talented, but I loved the movement. And I just wanted to climb on things. So then you flash forward another 10, 15 years later, at 19 years old, I found a Ninja Warrior gym in my hometown of Houston, Texas. And I was like, this is what I've been missing my whole life. This is the sport that I want to pursue. I've watched the American TV show the last few years leading up to that in high school. But before that, I didn't know anything like the sport of OCR, obstacle course racing, even existed. So found my start at 19 years old, and I've been going for over 10 years now.
Wow, that flew by, those 10 years. I don't have to tell you, but holy cow, I had no idea that was 10 full years. You know, you mentioned something, I want to cut back to that. So I love the fact that that's how you found your niche, and there was that type of gym there. But I know you were homeschooled, so I want to hear about that, because if you said the word homeschooled 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, a lot of people would say, gee, what's that? Well, that's not the case anymore. Yeah. So I'm guessing your parents might have been kind of like pioneers in that. So tell me what that was like for you, and I think your 4 siblings.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, after sibling number 3 was born, my parents came to this conclusion. They said, hey, it's not that we have that much against our own upbringing. They said, but we want to do something different with our kids. We want to be more involved with our kids. We want to have more of a say in what they learn and who they learn from. So even though I was homeschooled, we had outside classes that we could take. We had outside programs that we were a part of. So, you know, even all growing up, nobody really believed that me and my siblings were homeschooled because of how social we were. And I think now more than ever, 20 plus years later, there are more options than there have ever been before for someone wanting to take the reins and homeschool their children, whether that's personally the parents doing it or online or finding different co-ops to join in and be a part of. There's so many different options. And for me and my family, we loved it. Now, I'd be lying if I said it was easy. It was a lot of hard work, and it definitely takes, a lot more effort on the parents who are making that decision for their family and children. But I couldn't be more grateful for the decision that they chose, because my siblings and I mean, we weren't bound by the same time constraints as a lot of our peers. So we would go on extended vacations. We would go on like overseas mission trips. We would be involved and connected more than the average person in other extracurricular activities like our sports or choir or whatever. It allowed us to have more time dedicated to our natural talents, gifts, and abilities. So for me being an athlete, they were like, hey, we'll go ahead and prioritize, all these athletics as well as your schooling, but we're going to give you the extra, nudge in the right direction because we have the time and the energy to do so. So I'm super grateful for that. And my wife and I, Abby, we've already talked about, we're going to be planning on homeschooling our future kids someday too.
Most athletes know what they're training for. A boxer knows to go in, do your jabs, do your shadow boxing, all that other stuff. I can't figure this out. Nobody can guess the many crazy obstacles that are part of the Ninja Warrior competition. I mean, every time I look, there's a new thing. And I got to tell you something. I go from half the time watching the Ninja Warriors, most specifically you, Daniel, not being impressed because you make it look so easy. I mean, it looks like I just want to go when nobody's looking, when the crowd goes home, and try just one of those 8 obstacles. I mean, you do this giant wall. It looked like you weren't even trying. I'm sure you were, but it's just, how do you train for that? I mean, what muscles do you train for these crazy things? I know about the monkey bars and, oh, you were the kid who climbed. This is another level. This is monkey bars on steroids. How do you train for that?
Yeah. And I'll start by saying that Ninja Warrior is the most humbling sport that I've ever been involved in, because as a kid, I would practice my free throw hundreds of times, or my corner kick in soccer, or if you're a gymnast, you practice your floor routine or whatever discipline over and over until you have it down to an exact science. But with Ninja Warrior and this one of the fastest growing sports in the world right now, OCR, obstacle course racing, you never know quite what you're going to see at any given competition. There's going to be the salmon ladder bar that you jump up the rung. There's going to be the warped wall that you run up, but everything else in between, you really just have to become strong, capable, and then adaptable to any situation and any obstacle. So in these gyms that are popping up all over the country, there's things like bar laches, where it's jumping from one bar, swinging and flying 4 to 8 feet in the air and catching onto another bar, or cliffhanger ledge, or pipes, or some type of obstacle. And so when you're in a gym setting, you have to train in all of these different ways, all these variables, getting your heart rate spiked first and then trying to do the obstacles. And so when you show up on the course, we'll get one walkthrough. We'll see each obstacle individually. They'll give us one demonstration from one of their professional testers. And then they say, okay, good luck. So what you see on television is the very first time that we touch any of those obstacles, which makes it so much crazier when you have that information, because you'll see some of the strongest or most accomplished ninjas have, mishaps or sudden early falls. And you think, well, how is that possible? And then the realization of knowing, oh, well, they've never touched that. Maybe it just felt differently or moved differently than they thought. So I think the show is really, it's difficult physically, but mentally too. And you have to learn to stay calm, cool, and collected. And again, I'm grateful for my background and my history, because my high school years being a competitive singer and a performer, doing all the singing, dancing, acting, I'm very used to and comfortable with the lights and the cameras and the audience. And so when I compete on the show, those things just blur into the peripherals for me. And I come out there and I do what I've trained to do. And it's a joy, but upsets still happen all the time in my sport, no matter who you are.
Oh, for sure. I mean, to be honest, you talk about heart racing, your heart rate spiking. My heart rate spiked listening to you. So half my workout for today is done. Thank you very much. That's so interesting, because I never knew. These guys must practice the day before the fans get there. They must do it 2 or 3 times, because the mental capacity you have to have, because I don't know what some of these things are called, but it looked like almost rope, and you had to put it on something, and then you had to swing and with the rope go on to the next thing. I don't know how somebody does that for the first time, but you're right. Anybody could slip. There's something where you go from right to left in the very beginning. Sometimes just, it looks like you could be a little off balance, but I really haven't seen anyone fall from that. But you've seen people who are champions fall 2 or 3 obstacles into the entire competition. So you don't know what to expect. But you said something that piqued my interest for a moment. So I actually do some work with someone named Tyrone Poole. Tyrone was a professional football player for many years. And he also was on the America Ninja Warrior. So you have people who cross over. It's almost like when the boxer says, I could beat an MMA fighter, and things of that nature. So when they try to do different things, but are we going to see you on American Idol? Are we going to see you on America's Got Talent because of the singing, because of the dancing? I know this is your life, but are you planning to spread your wings or let people know other things that Daniel Gill can do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with the whole crossover, I've always had a dream of getting on Dancing with the Stars. Like I was even a part of professional dance company here in Houston for a couple of years as a startup. Was awesome, but then just juggling so many different things, I said, okay, let me put Ninja Warrior at the forefront. That's what's, bringing the most success and notoriety. And the most joy and influence. So that's my primary right now, but there are so many other things that make up who I am, as a performer, and now, an author. My wife and I have written a couple children's books together, and I've got one coming out this week, actually on Tuesday, the 15th. And so it's been a joy to get to have the platform that Ninja Warrior has given me. I mean, I've worked my tail off doing every type of training that you can imagine, because with Ninja Warrior, there isn't yet a standardized method of training for obstacle course racing. You need to do some sprinting, you need to do pull-ups, rock climbing helps a lot, any sort of speed and agility or plyometrics to get your lower body strong enough to go across all these, dynamic lower body agility obstacles. There's so many outside training that translates directly to the sport of ninja. And likewise, you can do ninja and take away all the hand-eye coordination and core strengthening, workouts that are fully required, and then take that to your own sport. We've got cross-pollination happening all the time here on, in these ninja gyms across the country. But for me, gosh, I'll continue competing as long as I can. I just turned 30 years old, and I do believe my best days are still ahead of me. But there are so many other things that I'm passionate about in this life, and will jump at any opportunity to get to do them. Things like, Dancing with the Stars or The Voice or American Idol, any of these other opportunities, because, I love to encourage, inspire, and point people to a higher cause. And, that's what I want to do with my life.
I just love that philosophy of the best years ahead of you, and the fact that you're not going to be pigeonholed into just one thing. But a couple of weeks ago, I had from Judge Judy, the bailiff Petrie Bird on the show, and everybody watches Judge Judy, and there's millions of people. And when I talk to some people of different ages, my son's friends, my friends, people older, not everybody knew who it was, and I was surprised. But I got to tell you, when I told people you were going to be on the show, not all knew the name, but the number of people who said to me, "Oh my God, that's the amazing guy with the hair." And I said, I think a lot of them have hair, but you are just really well known, which I'm sure you know. But for me to have people who you shouldn't pigeonhole people. I mean, this woman was in her late 60s, and she said, "Oh, I've seen him compete many times." That American Ninja Warrior is here to stay. But you talk about influence, you talk about impact. So now you're not just the guy with the hair anymore. You're a champion. And quite honestly, it is so easy to see that this is the kind of person you are, that none of it has gone to your head. But what happens now when people recognize you?
Man, I love it. Even I was on an airplane this morning, and during my connecting flight, someone walked up and said, "You're Daniel Gill. It's so good to meet you." And, I was a little tired. I was a little run down, but it gave me this realization, because it happens all the time. Like for me, it might be the 10th or 15th person that I come across on any given day. But for them, it's the first time getting to meet someone that they might have seen or watched compete on television. And so I have the opportunity and the joy of getting to have these interactions with people, to encourage them, to lift them up, to make their day in whatever capacity I can, again, to encourage and to inspire them. And just, I think the theme of what I do through obstacle course racing is amazing, because every single one of us, we face obstacles in life, whether they're physical obstacles on a TV show or these emotional obstacles that we face, sadness, anger, depression, whatever, or even like the mental obstacles like fear. And so I love to get to translate and have those real, authentic conversations with people, because again, I'm not some famous Hollywood celebrity making millions of dollars and could care less about lesser people. Like I'm involved in a very niche television show, very niche but fast growing sport, and so my name isn't a household name, but those that do know me well, and have seen the faithfulness and the consistency of the 8 years that I've been competing on the show. And so when we do have those interactions, they're excited about it, and I again have that opportunity to make someone's day and to put a smile on their face. And I love that, because the last couple of years we've had have been very discouraging and very tough for a lot of people. So to get to make someone's day like that is a joy that I do not take lightly.
Oh. As a fan, I certainly appreciate that. And you mentioned about the problems that people have had in the past couple of years. So When you are involved in a physical career, I mean, I remember when Muhammad Ali didn't fight for a couple of years, and hey, what would have happened those 2 years? Well, what would happen in 2 years during COVID when you could not compete? So I know that you had those struggles, but what other struggles did you have on your way to ninja success?
Man, I mean, I feel like nothing that's uncommon to man. I mean, even just when you look at, the 3 year or the 5 year plans that we all, strive to have, just to know the direction that we're going, or to set these realistic goals and actual steps to get to them. I feel like those have been struggles that I comparatively, when I talk to friends and family, I feel like I've dealt with those more because I've had these opportunities, I've been in the limelight. And so there's almost this extra pressure or weight that comes on me where, the expectation is, well, Daniel, you should be doing amazing things, on the course and off the course. And I'm doing the best that I can, but still trying to take life a day at a time. And for me, training is therapeutic. So it's my way of just relieving the tension and the stress each and every day. And then I'll lie in bed and feel like, hey, I don't think I did enough. I spent my time in the gym training my body to do these competitions, but man, I need to work on all these other entrepreneurial endeavors, these things that are going to provide the house, provide for my future family and kids. And so the struggles have been real over the years, but honestly, if not for, my wife, Abby, or my family, or my different mentors that are in my life that I use as sounding boards and learn from them, and just these conversations that are real, honest, transparent. And I know there's no other agenda than to encourage me or help me in whatever way they can, even if that means telling me the hard, brutal truth. I've got people that keep me grounded. So with every struggle that I've gone through, whether it's, man, I was 3 seconds away from $1 million in 2019 and I lost it. And I did win in 2020. It was amazing, but it was only, 10% of that, what I would have won. It was 100,000, which is amazing. I'm so grateful for that. But then the next year couldn't compete because I got sick, and then had to take the next year off. And so this is my first year back. And with all of those struggles in my mind, at the end of the day, as much as I love American Ninja Warrior and will continue competing as many years as this body allows me to, it's not my identity. So if it were ever taken from me, I find my identity in other things, in my faith, in my family, in all the other passions and things that make me come alive in life. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is whether it's our job or whether it's that thing that people know us by. We become, like you said earlier, pigeonholed in that one thing. And if that one thing ever gets taken away from us, we go through this identity crisis. And so thankfully, I've had mentors in my life that said, Daniel, yes, as far as you can in ninja, but also keep in mind, if that ever gets taken away, God forbid you break something, you're unable to compete, have other things in the background, have other things on the back burner, things that you're passionate about, things that you already have, perhaps some networking opportunities or relationships. Your life shouldn't just be just solely involved with one thing, because then if that one thing is gone, you're up the creek without a paddle. So there's a lot of things that bring me joy. I love to read. I love to write. I love to spend time with my family and friends and be creative. So again, all that to say, I face a lot of issues and problems, but I've got a good support system around me to keep me focused on the daily grind, which is so, so necessary.
Oh, that's such an important philosophy and lesson for the viewers to see, that you're not defined by American Ninja Warrior and you have things to fall back on. And so many times as a teacher, I had students who were excellent athletes, and I said, this is great, but you're letting your studies fall behind. You break your ankle, now what? What happens in college and things of that nature. So I love the fact that you have so many other interests and so many other passions. But before we close, I've got to know more about your children's book.
Oh, yes. Yes. So, man, that came about. Gosh, some of the coolest things in life come when you least expect it and through means that you would never, never expect. I had a friend tell me a couple years ago, he said, Daniel, I read children's books to my kids every single night. They love it. But all they want to talk about is Ninja Warrior and you and all these other competitors. Daniel, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I had never thought about that ever in my 7 years of life at that time. But as soon as he said it, something sparked within me. And I said, oh, I have to write a book. I have to do this. And then my wife, who's an artist, she was like, I'll do the illustrations. So we've done that together. We've got one book out right now titled The Little Ninja, go ninja go. And so, I mean, the little character's kind of featured off of me, and just seeing the world through the lens of obstacle courses and just wanting to climb and get stronger, treating his body well, putting good foods in. So I try to bring as many life lessons into it, things that kids need to hear and should hear, but through the lens of the excitement and the fun of Ninja Warrior. And then, later this week, I've got a major release coming out with a great publishing company out of Oregon called Harvest House. And we've got my biography coming out. So it's called Kingdom Ninja, a warrior's guide to physical, mental, and even spiritual health. And so what that book is all about, I mean, it's me, my life story, everything that I've learned and experienced over my years, but with an emphasis on 3 different focuses. One being physical health, whether your goal is to become an elite level athlete, or just someone trying to take ownership and responsibility of today, of the one body that we get. And then second part being mental health, because that's been in the limelight the last couple of years, which is anxiety and depression and all of the things associated with that. And so I've learned a lot of keys through my mentors and my leaders, and just taking ownership of my own life with the ups and the many downs I've faced in life. And then the third part being spiritual health, which again, I'm the Kingdom Ninja. It's all from Matthew 6:33, seeking first the kingdom of God, to live righteously, do the best that we can, and trust God with the results. So this book comes out, this week, Tuesday, the 15th of August, and I could not be more excited about it. And between you and I, we've got several more books in the works on the way in the next year and a half. So stay connected, stay tuned, because I couldn't be more excited to be deep into the trenches of an author now. Never would I have dreamt it, but I was a kid who would always journal, write down my thoughts, my training routines, my ideas or my prayer requests. I would always write. And now I've been given this platform and this opportunity to use it to impact so many others. And I think all these resources will really benefit and really help anyone who picks them up.
I think that's spectacular. It's so great. I'm so into the children learning when they're young, and they definitely look up to you. So the viewers should definitely get so much liquid gold came from you today. This was like a clinic in life lessons and perseverance. So first of all, to the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. EST, available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories with Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course our YouTube channel. So subscribe. America Ninja Warrior Champion Daniel Gill, thank you so much for being here today.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me, Mark. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.